It sits empty right now, or it will be soon. And while you're figuring out your photos, tweaking your price, and deciding whether to post on Craigslist, a landlord down the street with a worse unit just signed a lease. Not because their property is better, because they understood something you don't yet. Peak leasing season doesn't reward the best unit. It rewards the landlord who launches correctly. 18 vacancy days. That's the average gap between a landlord who wings their listing and one who sequences it right. In California, that's not a rounding error. That's $2,400 gone. So before you touch that publish button, stay with me, because what I'm about to walk you through is the exact pre-launch sequence that closes leases in 72 hours or less. Pull out your phone right now and do this math with me, because abstract losses don't change behavior, personal losses do. Take your monthly rent. Divide it by 30. That's your daily rent value. For a $2,400 a month unit in Sacramento, that's $80 a day. For a $3,200 unit in San Diego, that's about $107. For a $4,500 unit anywhere in the Bay Area, you're at $150 a day. Every single day the unit sits empty. Now here's what most California landlords refuse to account for. Vacancy cost is not just lost rent. It's lost rent plus your fixed costs, which keep running whether someone's living there or not. Mortgage, insurance, utilities you're covering, WA if applicable. Add those in and your true daily vacancy cost is closer to $110 to $160 for most single-family rentals and small multifamily units in this state. Now multiply that by 18. The average additional vacancy days accumulated by landlords who skip a structured pre-launch process. You're looking at $1,980 to $2,880 in losses per vacancy cycle, not per year per vacancy. If you're turning a unit twice in 3 years, that's potentially $5,000 to $6,000 walking out the door over that period, and you never see it leave because it was never collected in the first place. The California rental market during peak season, roughly May through August, with a secondary window in January, moves faster than most landlords prepare for. Qualified tenants in competitive markets are making decisions within 24 to 48 hours of inquiry. If your listing isn't optimized to surface at the right moment, you're not competing, you're waiting. And waiting in real estate has a price tag you can calculate to the dollar. This is why the 7-day pre-launch window matters more than anything you do on publish day. 7 days before your listing goes live is when the real work happens. Most landlords think the work starts when they post. It doesn't. By the time you hit publish, your pricing, your photos, and your description should already be done and validated. Here's the sequence. Days 7 through 5. Pricing. This is non-negotiable. You need to pull comparable active listings, not recently rented active, within a 1 to 2 mile radius of your unit, filtered by bedroom count and square footage, within the last 48 hours. Not 72. Not last week. 48 hours. During peak season in California metros, rental comps shift by 3 to 5% week over week in high-demand submarkets. If you're anchoring your price to data that's a week old, you are pricing against a market that no longer exists. Check Zillow's rental listings, Apartments.com, and HotPads for active comps. Cross-reference with Rentometer if you want a second signal. Then price at the 50th to 60th percentile of what's actively listed. Not the top, not the bottom. Pricing too high in peak season doesn't just lose you inquiries. It costs you algorithm visibility because platforms track days on market and begin depressing reach after day 7 on most major sites. Days 5 through 3. Photography. This one specific point gets ignored constantly when landlords learn how to list a rental property in California, and it's costing them inquiries before anyone reads a single word. The time of day you photograph your unit is determined by your unit's window orientation, not your schedule. South and west-facing units should be shot between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. for natural fill light. North and east-facing units photograph better in morning hours, typically 7 to 9 a.m. Shooting at the wrong time turns your photos flat. Flat photos signal a low-value unit even if the unit itself is excellent. Minimum photo count on Zillow to rank well in search. 12 photos. Under 12, their algorithm categorizes your listing as incomplete and suppresses it in filtered searches. Day 2, your description. I'll go deep on this in the next chapter, but your writing should be done and reviewed before go live, not drafted in the moment you publish. Day 1, your sequencing plan. Which platform goes live first, second, and why? That's chapter 4. Now here's where it gets interesting, because most landlords think posting to more platforms faster is always better. It's not. Your listing description is doing 2 jobs simultaneously, And most landlords only think about one of them. The first job is obvious: attract qualified tenants. The second job, the one that actually saves you time and money, is repel unqualified ones before they ever contact you. Here's the math on that. The average California landlord fielding inquiries on an unoptimized listing spends 45 to 60 minutes per day on screening calls and emails during peak inquiry periods. That's across a typical 10 to 14-day listing window, 7 to 14 hours of your time on the phone or keyboard. A well-written listing description that answers the top 5 disqualifying questions upfront cuts unqualified inquiry volume by roughly 40%, based on documented testing by property management firms tracking inquiry to application conversion rates. That's 3 to 6 hours of your life back. Plus, it concentrates your remaining inquiries into higher quality prospects who already know what they're getting into. So what are the 5 questions your description must answer before anyone calls you? Pet policy. Parking. How many spots, covered or not, included or additional cost? Laundry. In unit, in building, or none? Lease length, 12 months, shorter terms available, no month to month. And income requirement. State it directly. Something like applicants must demonstrate gross monthly income of 2.5 to 3 times monthly rent. Eliminates a significant percentage of applications that were going to fail your screening anyway. Beyond those disqualifiers, your description signals value through specificity. Don't write updated kitchen. Write kitchen renovated in 2022 with quartz countertops and stainless appliances. Specificity reads as credibility. Vague language reads as concealment. And one more thing that dramatically affects how your listing ranks when tenants search for a rental listing description that attracts tenants on Zillow or apartments.com. Keyword placement. Both platforms use search indexing on listing text. Neighborhood name, transit proximity, and school district name, if relevant, should appear in your first 150 words naturally. Not stuffed in naturally, but wait, there's a catch. A great description on a buried listing is worthless. Which brings us to where most landlords blow it without realizing it. Understanding Zillow rental listing tips for landlords is not just about how you post, it's about when and in what order. Both Zillow and apartments.com operate freshness algorithms. When your listing first goes live, you get an algorithmic boost, essentially a new listing window where the platform surfaces you more prominently in search results. On Zillow, that window lasts approximately 24 to 48 hours. On apartments.com, it's similar. Roughly 48 hours of elevated placement before organic decay sets in. Here's the sequencing error that costs landlords visibility: posting everything simultaneously. If you go live on all platforms at 9 p.m. on a Sunday because that's when you finished writing, you've wasted your freshness windows on the lowest traffic period of the week, and you've exhausted your algorithmic boost before qualified tenants are actively searching on Monday morning. The correct sequence for peak rental season landlord strategy looks like this. Post Zillow first, on Tuesday or Wednesday morning between 7 and 9 a.m. Zillow drives the highest qualified search traffic of any platform in most California markets, and midweek morning posts capture the Monday decision trigger searchers. People who spend the weekend visiting units and are now ready to act. Your 48-hour freshness window then covers Wednesday and Thursday, peak weekday inquiry days. Post apartments.com 24 hours later, Wednesday or Thursday morning, to stagger your freshness peaks and sustain elevated visibility across the work week. Facebook Marketplace goes live Thursday evening. It skews toward a different searcher profile. Often people relocating with shorter timelines, younger renters, and people who haven't started a formal search yet. Thursday evening catches Friday decision-making behavior. Hotpad syndicates automatically from Zillow, so you don't need to post separately, but verify that syndication is enabled in your Zillow account settings before you assume it's happening. Craigslist is useful for certain submarkets. Specific neighborhoods in LA and the Bay Area still show real activity, but it requires daily reposting to maintain visibility and introduces a higher volume of unqualified inquiries. Use it strategically, not by default. Never pay for premium placement on a platform before your free listing has run its natural freshness cycle. You can't buy your way out of a bad description or stale pricing. Fix the product before you amplify it. Your listing is live. Inquiries are coming in. And right now, your biggest competitor isn't the landlord down the street. It's your own response time. Here's why this matters in real numbers. Studies tracking rental conversion rates consistently show that inquiry response within 1 hour produces a 7x higher likelihood of converting that inquiry to a showing compared to response after 24 hours. In peak season, Qualified California renters are often submitting 5 to 8 inquiries simultaneously to different listings. The first landlord to respond with a showing time wins a disproportionate share of the quality applicant pool. Your 72-hour response protocol works in 3 phases. Hours 0 through 4, auto response. Set up an automated email or text reply that goes out immediately upon inquiry. This response should include 3 things: confirmation that you received their message, a direct link to your pre-screening questionnaire or rental application, and 2 or 3 available showing times. This single step filters out low-intent inquirers and gives serious applicants something to act on immediately. Hours 4 through 24. Qualify before you show. Any applicant who returns your pre-screening questionnaire or fills out an application gets a showing scheduled within that window. Applicants who don't respond to your auto response within 24 hours were low intent. Move on. Don't chase. Hours 24 through 72. Close or release. For applicants who attend a showing, your application turnaround should be 24 hours or less. In California, you can legally charge up to $65.73 for a credit and background check as of 2024. Use it, run it fast, and communicate your decision within 1 business day of receiving a completed application. The longer your decision window, the more likely your best applicant signs somewhere else. Here's the part nobody talks about. How to reduce rental vacancy days isn't primarily about marketing. It's about operational speed after the marketing works. A landlord who responds in 20 minutes and has an application in hand within 48 hours of going live is not lucky. They built a process before the listing went live, so they weren't scrambling after. The landlords losing 18 days aren't losing them because of bad units. They're losing them because they're building the airplane while it's already in the air. Recap. Let's lock in what matters. Your daily vacancy cost isn't just lost rent, it's lost rent plus fixed costs, typically $110 to $160 per day in California. Calculate your number now and let it make the urgency real. Pricing comps pulled more than 48 hours before your go-live date are stale in peak season. Your price needs to reflect today's market, not last week's. Photos shot at the wrong time of day flatten your unit's visual appeal and tank your inquiries before anyone reads your description. Match your shoot time to your window orientation. A description that answers pet policy, parking, laundry, lease length, and income requirements upfront cuts unqualified inquiries by roughly 40% and cuts your time to lease measurably. Post Zillow first, midweek morning. Stagger your other platforms by 24 hours. Never waste your freshness window on